Well, good morning, Ashby. I'm out here walking the roads like a lot of people are doing during this coronavirus thing. When I get out here, it's relaxing, you kind of get to thinking. And I started thinking about this old Northfield Road. That's what we're walking down. And I got to thinking Northfield. Northfield. Where is the Northfield? And I'm looking at the road. The road goes east-west. It doesn't go north. I'm thinking, why is that? Well, I can't figure it out. It's not even in the north side of town. It's way in the south side of town. So why is it called the Old Northfield Road? Well, I decided to do some research, went home, got to looking, got out the old Sawtell, History of Ashby. Now, roads, a lot of times you don't find out much about. First of all, the names have changed over the years. So a lot of times if you're looking for a road, you'll never see that name mentioned in the history. It'll be some different name. The other thing is, well, they just don't write a lot about roads. So, but this one, I had paid her. Page 2. First road in Ashby. Now, of course, Ashby wasn't here then, but first road in Ashby, 1733. The Lunenburg Northfield Road. The Northfield. That must be a place. So I look on the map, and sure enough, the town of Northfield, out there on the Connecticut River, right on the right where New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont all meet. That's where Northfield is. I said, well, why are they building a road from Lunenburg to Northfield? Well, it says it was the French and Indian War to help defend Northfield. So they could send troops out to Northfield to defend against the French and Indians coming down the Connecticut River Valley. I says, oh, okay. That's a lot of road to build, but I suppose for defense, the people spend money on defense. So I got to looking into it. 1733 it gets built. Of course, there starts to be, it wasn't much of a road, it was more like a big path through the woods. Well, the next thing you know that happens, of course, is somebody wants to build a house out here. And so a family, John Fitch, he wants to build a house out here. He buys himself 150 acres of land, and in 1739 he moves out to this area. Well, it's actually a couple miles down the road. Moves out to this area with his family, 2 children, his wife Susanne, and they set up a little homestead out here. So we're gonna, like I said, it's a couple miles down the road. We'll just keep heading down here and get down to the location where he set up his house. Okay, so while we're walking the 2 miles to the John Fitch homestead, I thought I'd stop and talk a little bit about the French and Indian War. French and Indian Wars always confuse me. First of all, there was 4 of them, spread over like 70 years. Second, each war had a different name depending on what country was naming it. So, like in the first French and Indian War, 1688, that was called the First Intercolonial War up in French Canada. It was called King William's War in British America. And it was called, let's see, what the heck was it called? Wait a minute, I got a cheat sheet here. The War of the Grand Alliance in England. So these wars, they usually started in Europe, and between French and English. Time Canada's French, coastal America is British, English. War starts over there, they call up over here, send a ship, whatever, say, okay, you guys go to war. So, generally what happens is the French would partner with the Indians, particularly the northern Indians, the Abenaki and Micmac, and they would basically pay them to attack the British outlying settlements. So this happened in 1688 and 1713. There's another war. The road we're talking about, built 1733 during a period of peace, but still the conflict was always a potential. And of course, in 1739, John Fitch moves out to its homestead. Well, enough about the French and Indian War. We're down here heading up towards where John Fitch has established his homestead. Just a minute here, I'll turn you around. There we go. So we're walking here, we got a little stream. Off in the distance is the Ashby Reservoir. Stream was probably here, but the reservoir certainly wasn't. That would have been a wet meadow. Probably something used to raise animals on. Probably raise vegetables. What he was out here doing was essentially subsistence farming. He traded with the Indians. They would bring him furs. He'd trade iron goods with them. Yeah, he also would provide some lodging and food for travelers up the road. So he had several things going on. Probably life was pretty good. Everything was working out. Then along 1844, another one of those pesky French and Indian wars started up. British sent troops out to Lunenburg to help defend the town. They decided they should fortify these outlying garrison houses. Well, it wasn't a garrison, but they were making it into a garrison. So they put on heavy wooden shutters with a hole in the shutter so the people inside could shoot out. They'd bar the door, big heavy bars so no one could get in. Basically, the thing was pretty impregnable. In addition to that, they stationed 4 British soldiers out here to help guard. And they were rotated in and out. And Fitch kept going about his business. Everything was good till July 5th, 1748. And that's what this monument was erected to. So on July 5th, one of the British soldiers had taken ill. He had gone back to Lunenburg. Another one, Jenkins. No, Perkins. Private Perkins. They needed more supplies. He set out in the morning to go back to Lunenburg, pick up some supplies. That left 2, Private Jennings and Private Bludgett, along with Fitch, his wife Susanne, and 5 children. 2 soldiers decided to head out into the woods, maybe go hunting, see if they could get a turkey or something. As they approached the wood line, Blodgett was in the lead, and he saw the Indians in a wood line. He yelled to Jennings to retreat. They turned around and ran, but Blodgett was shot down as as he tried to get back to the garrison. Of course, the shot warned everyone else. Susanne Fitch had been up on the side of this hill up here, getting water from a spring. She dropped her pail and ran back. Fitch, of course, and they barred the doors, the shutters, and began to fire to drive the Indians away. So Susanna would reload the muskets, the men would fire. With the house boarded up like it was, the Indians couldn't get inside. This went on for about an hour and a half until, by misfortune, one of them got close enough to get his musket through the shooting hole in the shutter, and Private Jennings was killed. That left just John Fitch and his wife. He continued the fight best he could, but it soon became apparent to the Indians that there was only one person defending this garrison. They called out to him that they wanted to talk. Of course, neither knew the other's language, but Fitch, of course, knew sign language from his trading with the Indians. And eventually, he got the message. The message was, surrender or we'll burn the house with everyone in it. He looked at his wife, kids. He opened the door and walked out with his family behind him. The Indians promptly took them captive, grabbed everything they could find of value, and burned whatever was left. They then headed right up this road, heading west. Their plan was to take them to Montreal and ransom them to the French. Meanwhile, Perkins were going this way, going east towards Lunenburg, saw the smoke from the fire. Climbing the hill, he could see it was the Fitch garrison. He ran to the nearest house, which was several miles away. Tell them to raise the alarm to send the militia out from Lunenburg. They ran into Lunenburg, raised the militia. They came out as quickly as they could. About 40 of them, led by Lieutenant Hartwell. Lieutenant gets out here. He sees Blodgett's body in the field. They find Jennings in the smoldering ruins of the garrison. And up on that hill is Susanna's bonnet and bucket scattered by the trail. He concludes that Susanna has probably been captured by the Indians. What happened to Fitch and the children? No knowledge. Maybe Jennings was holding off the Indians while Fitch and the children escaped. Maybe they were captured and killed some distance from here. He didn't know, but he knew that Lunenburg was under attack and he had to reinforce the garrisons. He orders everyone back to Lunenburg to begin the preparations. John Fitch and his family are going to be on their own. So that's the end of the day, July 5th, 1748. The Fitches, their 5 children, and a band of Indians are heading towards Montreal. Lieutenant Hartwell and his men are heading back to Lunenburg to reinforce and prepare for attack. So that's about it for today. We'll pick this up next week when we'll discuss what happens to Fitch and his family and how things turn out. Of course, we we kind of know he survives because he's still got to found Fitchburg and Ashby. And he has a lot of other things to do besides. Thank you.